Okay, so let's talk about APA style and academic integrity. And we're going to start out talking about the prescriptive, that is, the things that I want you to do. And then we're going to talk about the proscriptive, the things that I don't want you to do in terms of academic integrity. So let's start out with the prescriptive first, that is, what we want you to do. So the broader details are this, the broader context is this. When you graduate, the president is going to say, when she confers your degree, that you are a graduate of the college, you have your degree, and then she will say, and you have the rights and privileges of a graduate. Well, what does that mean? The for our purposes here, what that basically means is that you are now a member. Oh, I need my pointer. A pointer of the you're a member of the academy. That is a society or institution of distinguished scholars or artists or scientists that aims to promote and maintain the standards in its particular field. That's what the academy is, and that's what she's welcoming you into and saying that you have the rights and privileges of. So this college experience, there's a much broader issue going on. There's a much broader thing in that you are becoming a member of an elite group of people. And with that comes, privileges and rights, but also responsibilities. And one set of responsibilities is that, as I say here, we want to promote and maintain standards in a particular field. That is, we want scholarship and scientific research to be of high quality. We want artistic endeavors to be of a high quality. And we encourage and we motivate our fellows to do just that. And one way that we do that is to ensure, academic integrity or scholarship integrity, as I'm going to introduce it to you. And so that's what that the president will mean when she say that you have the rights and privileges of a graduate. That's what I just said is true. Interesting trivia. The academy, that is, colleges, have been around for 1,000 years. Imagine that. You are in an institution that has been in existence for 1,000 years, more or less. And back when you would graduate 1,000 years ago, they would still say that you are a graduate of this college and you have the rights and privileges of a graduate, besides the rights and privileges I just mentioned, that you were a member of the academy. And back then, it meant that you could come to faculty meetings and sit among the faculty and vote on college issues because you've graduated, so you're a member of our group. But also, it would mean things such as you did not have to serve in the army of the local lord, and also, in some cases, you would get a free beer every day. This was 1,000 years ago when water was basically poison, and the only thing you could drink every day would be things that were fermented, like alcohol, wine, beer. And so basically you were given a glass of water or fluids every day. So, we're talking about academic integrity, and, the basic issue is, it's cheating, it's lying, right? Well, or is it really cheating? Everyone does it, and the ends justify the means. Does everybody do it? Well, kind of. I'm not aware of any surveys on academic dishonesty at York, but other surveys on academic dishonesty in higher education show that among students at larger state schools like ours, cheating could be as high as 70%. In that, up to 70% of the students will admit to have cheating at some time during their career. More specific targeted studies have found 15% of students have admitted that they turned in a totally fake paper. 84% have admitted cheating on writing assignments, and 52% have plagiarized at least a sentence or more in an essay. So it does seem like everyone does it, but ethics is not relative. You can't say, well, a lot of people shoot and kill people, so I should be allowed to shoot and kill people also. And it goes back to the issue of you're in the academy, and it's up to you to ensure the quality of what we produce. And if you're not actively involved in making sure that here in academia we are trying to do the best, most honest work possible, then you're really part of the problem. So ethics is not really relative, and I say this and it sounds trite, but it's really important. Facts are facts, and they really exist. And there's been a lot of talk about fake news and conspiracy theories, and well, that's just your opinion. But people who've been saying those things have not been part of the academy. And in the academy, we know that, yes, there are truths or things that are probably true and things that are not likely true. And, if you want to know if there's global warming and it's caused by humans and how big a problem it is, ask a biology professor. It's his life, it's her life, studying biology. And it's important to them, and they know the data. And if you do, you'll become very depressed, because they'll be very, very depressed themselves in explaining. If you want to know about what to do about COVID, talk to one of your biology professors or public health professors. The other general issue is that you can say, well, the ends justify the means. That is, I want to get a college degree. And you want to get a college degree to have a better life. You want to get a better job. You want to, want to be part of the American dream and have a lifestyle better than your parents. And indeed, for some of you, for many of you, there may be disadvantages. You may be the first generation in your family to go to college. You may be, from an economically disadvantaged family. You may, be new to our country. And so you always say, well, these are going against me, so therefore maybe it's best if I do whatever I need to get a degree. And it's justified. However, to be very pragmatic about that, if you accept those ethical decisions and you go ahead and you cheat to get your degree, this means that you have a degree, but you have no preparation for the jobs that are requiring your degree. And so what about an education? An education is not just learning how to cheat, how to copy things from the internet, but it's about really understanding what I was talking about a few minutes ago in terms of, there are facts and there are very accurate things that we can say about things. And how do I distinguish things that are facts from things that are just what people say? And one of the things that you'll learn if you allow professors to educate you is you'll learn those skills. So that's the general ethical side to it. So let's go to the specifics of what I want you to do. And I think Mark Twain said it best when he said, write what you know. And indeed, write what you know. Don't write about things that you don't understand. And so the first thing that you should do before you write an essay or before you write an answer is make sure that you understand what you're going to write about. Don't think about the end goal. Well, I have to get this post written by Tuesday, no matter what. But think about, well, what do I need to do to be able to write that post? What do I need to read? What do I need to think about? How much time I need to do that. And so think about that so that you can write what you know. And in our department, APA style is a major part of writing what you know, or presenting what you know. You can certainly buy the student guide, the concise guide, which will help you out a great deal. It's only about 20 bucks. Or there are many internet sites that if you go and read them and take notes from them, you'll have a good understanding of the basics of APA style. I always say that the OWL site at Purdue University is very good. So general issues that I have, you should have been introduced to APA style in Intro Psych and your other psych classes and English 125. I don't know what's going on there because some students really don't appear to have any grasp of it. Basics that they miss is that you have to cite all sources. You have to cite the sources in terms of in-text citations and reference citations in your reference list. And it's a reference list, it's not a bibliography. So only put in the references, the sources that you cited in text. And in text, you don't list names of the articles. You don't list first names of authors. This is the format. And this is the format that you will probably use for everything. Parentheses, Smith and James, comma, year of publication, or Smith and James, parentheses, year of publication have shown. That's how you cite things in psychology. Citing others' work, again, do not list the title. You list the author's names and last names only and year of publication. Also, APA style says to avoid direct quotes. They take up more space and they don't really serve things that well in general, so don't do it. So what do I mean by direct quotes? Well, stop the video and take a minute to read this. Okay, thank you for stopping it and taking a minute to read this. So you may want to stop again and just write down your description of this first paragraph here. Okay, thanks for stopping and writing a description of it. And maybe your description will be like this. In their second experiment, the researchers were interested in the degree to which the essay writer's attitude would influence the observer's ratings. They predicted that there would be no relationship between the writer's attitude and the observer's ratings. The prediction was based upon the conclusions of previous experiments. Very, very understandable and clear. If you put the time in to read the paragraph and read the other parts of the article, and think about it and think about expressing what you wanted to express. So, being prescriptive, let's talk about how we would put that in APA style or how we'd cite that in APA style. So you could just say in their second experiment, the authors' names, Miller, Ashton, and Michal, the year, 1990, were interested in the degree to which, and then you put the rest of your description. And usually in APA style, if you start out a paragraph with an in-text citation like this one, it covers the rest of the paragraph, so everybody knows that, anything you say in the rest of the paragraph, it's a paraphrase or a citation of this other study. Another way you could do it is put in parentheses, just tack it on at the end here. And what this means to most people is that everything in front of that in the entire paragraph is a paraphrase of the article or a citation based on the article. And so doing either one of these, you're covered. It's now a legal citation and you're not plagiarizing. Why don't we use direct quotes? Well, here's why. We could say in their second experiment, Miller, Ashton, and Michal, 1990, were interested in, quote, observers, blah, 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 page number 639, end quote. And this is a legal direct quote. But notice how clunky it is and how much it doesn't really explain what you want it to explain. And that's why we avoid direct quotes in APA style, because they're too clunky. And they don't really do what we want to do as the author of a paper. When you're the author of a paper, you want to express an idea from your perspective to serve your interests as a writer, and they may not be the same as Miller's interests as a writer, and so using his exact words is not going to help you out. Okay, so let's take a look at the idea of proscriptive, or things that you should avoid. And to ease ourselves into that, let's talk about academic integrity. And here's York's policy. And hopefully you've looked at this before, you've gone to the York webpage and looked at this. But it's, exercising honesty and responsibility in your intellectual work, and that's exactly what it is. Honesty, that is, you're going to be honest about what ideas are yours and what ideas are other people's. And you're going to take the responsibility to be careful about presenting that. Both faculty and students are held to this standard. I am held to this standard also. I know of faculty members who have been fired for violating academic integrity. For students, this standard means all assignments must be completed by the students themselves without unauthorized aid. What is authorized and what is unauthorized? If the professor hasn't made clear, contact them right away and ask them. That's very important. All exam and tests must be completed without the use of unauthorized aid. What is that aid? Well, if the professor didn't make it clear, contact them. And documents must be submitted, cannot be falsified or forged. And it is important for you to understand the technical style of how to cite ideas from other people. And in our department, that's APA style. The York policy identifies 4 specific types of dishonesty: cheating, plagiarism, unfair advantage, and falsification of records. My policy, and I developed this policy working with students and based on feedback from students, is I'll confront the student. And remember, at York, the academic integrity policy says that the professor is the judge and the jury and the prosecutor. So I will collect information, evaluate it, and then make a decision about your punishment. And that is the policy at York. So I can, for example, if I see that you've done something, investigate it, determine that you plagiarized, for example, and determine that you should receive an F for the course. And all of that is perfectly legal in York's policy. However, based on what students have said they would like, here's my policy. I confront the student, and if they admit to the infraction, I will have them do some counseling, where I'll ask them to read materials and then write an essay addressing certain questions about what their violation was. We'll discuss the answers, and then if I'm satisfied, I'll give a minor penalty to the student. However, if the student doesn't admit to the infraction, I will then give them at least a 0 for that element of the course, because I've given them a very wide door to walk out of and save themselves, and they're not going to take it. That's pretty hardcore. So if you plagiarized on a assignment which is 1% of 5% of your course grade, giving you a 0 for 1% of 5% of your course grade is not going to be a deterrent. So I'll give you a 0 for 5% of your course grade, and I'll report the infraction to the academic integrity officer, which means that you'll have a record of this at your college. So what are the major problems with academic integrity I see? And it's cut and pasting. Students cut and paste sources from the internet. And so the answer to how to avoid problems with plagiarism is not to cut and paste. It sounds very, very easy and effortless to do so, but it does run you into problems with the issue of academic integrity. And if you are going to cut and paste, then remember that cut and pasted sources are treated as a direct quote. And remember that APA style encourages paraphrasing over direct quotes. And so if I do see a cut and pasted but cited direct quote, probably you're going to get a lower grade because it's going to be a very poorly written answer. So what do I mean? Here's an example. A student submitted this paper, and here's the web page in which they cut and pasted it from. And same words, same layout. So this was a issue of plagiarism. Here's a student answer on a discussion board. When I watched a musician in a subway station who became stimulated by having a crowd of people and does a superior expedition. The things in red are from study.com. And so what the student did was they downloaded, and cut and pasted from study.com, and then they added on, when I watched a musician in the subway, to make it seem like they came up with it themselves. Well, that's a direct lie, because they were not in a subway station and saw this. They're just lying. And they're not citing what they stole from study.com. So this is plagiarism, and it's lying. And that's another example of one of these infractions. So don't cut and paste, no matter how enticing it seems. Oh, by the way, while we're talking about it, study.com, Chegg, Course Heroes, they're all involved in cheating. And they're not. They say that there's student aid sites or study aid sites, and they're just really encouraging and facilitating cheating and academic dishonesty. And most students do not expect, and most faculty members do not expect students to have test or exam questions before the exam. And if you go to study.com and look at a test bank from a professor in the class you're taking, that is cheating because you're getting unauthorized aid. And again, if you're not sure about it, and in this case you can be sure about it, that most professors don't want you to look at the exams before you take the exam, or look at possible exam questions before you take the exam. If you're not sure about this, ask the professor before the exam, am I allowed to go to study.com and look at what's been posted in terms of old exams of yours? And the professor may say yes, they may say no, but then you'll know for sure. But anytime you go to one of these sites, you're getting into, putting yourself into a situation where you could get yourself into trouble. And also, we give you exams, even multiple choice exams, to encourage you to study, because if you study and learn the material, then you have learned it, and hopefully some of it will stick. But if you just basically figure out a way to cheat using an old test bank, then you're not learning anything. And again, why are you in college if you don't want to learn something? Or if you're in college to get a degree so you can get a good job, well, those jobs expect you to know something from going to college if they're requiring a college degree. Another area which is kind of new, I've seen it more in the last 8 years, is mosaic plagiarism, where students will cut and paste, but they'll change a few words. And they believe that this allows them to get away from the fact that they're plagiarizing. It doesn't. It's plagiarism, just a different type of plagiarism, but it's still plagiarism. Uh, Students change some words themselves, or they use synonyms. They ask a word processor to find synonyms, or they look up synonyms in a thesaurus, or they just use Google Translate. And one thing I really want to know, are students being taught to do this in English 125? I'm talking about looking things up in a thesaurus, or looking up synonyms and just plugging in different synonyms. I've heard that some English 125 instructors are saying that this is especially to students who have English as a second language or not really strong English skills. They're saying, just look for better words in the thesaurus. Well, that could basically put students into a situation where they're cheating without really knowing it. And again, I think that a lot of what you're doing is cheating without really knowing that you're doing it. And that's why I'm so comfortable with the counseling method that I have, my policy on counseling. So let's take a look at student changes. An example: ask student to define hygiene factors. So here's the Wikipedia article. I just cut and pasted it from Wikipedia and removed some of the footnote citations. And then what I did was just say I changed a couple words every so often, and this still needs to be cited because changing a couple words means that you have a paraphrase, not a new piece of text that you can say is your own. One reason why you don't want to quote Wikipedia is because Wikipedia is an encyclopedia. And back before Wikipedia, when encyclopedias were books, you never used an encyclopedia as a quote in a college paper, because encyclopedias are not appropriate for college work. They're not specific and specialized enough. One example is here in Wikipedia. This part here is kind of misrepresented. And this is what I mean about how you would not want to use a quote from Wikipedia or any encyclopedia in a college paper, because you may misstate something because the source itself, the encyclopedia itself, is too generalized and is not a specific expert on that area. What you could do, for example, and I think Wikipedia is great, I think an encyclopedia is great, it's a great place to start, but it's not a great place to quote. Wikipedia is great because it has quotes all over the place and citations. And so click on one of those citations, and here's Heckman and Ullman, and here's Herzberg, the guy who developed two-factor theory. So you could just look this up, and he says this in his paper here, and so then you can just take that and use that for part of your answer. And it's a paraphrase, so you need to cite it. Herzberg 2003 P7. And now that is something great, because I'll tell you, as a professor, if you cite the author of a theory, that's pretty impressive, and that's what you should be doing. And of course, since you cited something, you have to have a reference list, and that should be centered. That's APA style. References are centered. And of course, this is APA style, this hanging indent. Okay, let's look at another example of mosaic plagiarism. So this is from Graveller and Johnson, where they're talking about Kidd and Castellano's study. This is what they said. So you could cut and paste this, and you could just go into your word processor and well, you can't do that, but you can right click on a word, and it will give you a list of synonyms, and then you can just plug in synonyms. And a lot of students think this is not cheating, this is not plagiarism. It is. It's mosaic plagiarism, and you would have to give this a citation as a paraphrase. And also it starts to get weird. none of these writes is exact. The original is none of these claims is accurate. So unless you know what you're doing, just switching out synonyms is not going to help you, and it's going to make your text seem weird when you read it. So that's why you shouldn't do this type of mosaic plagiarism, even if you do cite it. Or my favorite is you send the text through Google Translate a couple of times. So you have it Google translate it into French, and then from French to German, and then German back to English. And then you get this weird sounding text, which I guess you would still have to cite as a paraphrase, and also it just sounds really messed up. So you should not do that either, mainly because it sounds messed up. Okay, so again, how to avoid plagiarism? Don't cut and paste. APA style, only direct quotes are cut and pasted, but APA style says avoid direct quotes. And focus on your writing style and make sure that your writing style is good. Are you being taught to use synonyms? I'd really like to know. Give me an answer in online office hours. I get a sense that somebody's teaching you to do it, and it's wrong. And that's it. That's a photo of some of the mice that my collection of my cat Luna. She's a very lucky cat in that she has tons of mice to play with. And that's it for today's lecture. I'll see you in online office hours.